inside Jeremy Clarkson's new pub in Oxfordshire. It's called The Farmer's Dog, and it opened to the public at midday yesterday. Now, I mean, this is it's called The Farmer's Dog, and it's just outside of Burford, just off the A40. Jeremy Clarkson brought it with him, and yesterday there was a 4-hour queue for a pint at the newly opened bar. The serious point of this story, and what, to be fair, Clarkson's doing, is like he's done with his farm, Diddy Squat Farm, which has been a very popular TV series. He's actually promoting the British pub. Jonathan, we know they're closing at a rate of knots in this country. Because this is Jeremy Clarkson's comment on why Sir Keir Starmer is banned. They're a hopeless bunch. Starmer hasn't done much to endear himself to me yet. Well, have a look at farming. It might turn around. You never know. So, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, the political point here, David, isn't it? It's like, you know, Jeremy Clarkson has raised, the issues of farmers in this country and how much of a struggle it is for them. And he's now doing the same for the pub trade. So there's a serious point to what Clarkson's doing.
Absolutely. I mean, these are two things which are part of our heritage: pubs and farms.
You're talking about farming. We do need to talk about farming, actually, and what Brexit has done for farming. Not only what Brexit has done for farming, and now you have the government negotiating trade deals with countries, and the main things those countries want are better access for their meat in this country.
Absolutely not. It's not Brexit that is destroying farmers in this country. It is what the government have done, both under Johnson and Sunak, and now Starmer continuing this, in actually making farm subsidies related to the whole green agenda.
So we start off with a nice friendly chit-chat about a pub and straight on to the B word.
I never talk about Dawn, I never talk about Brexit anymore.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning to you. Happy weekend. I'm Ben Leo alongside Tatiana Sanchez, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Yes, it is, and it's great to have your company as well this morning. And as always, we've got an action-packed show for you today, so don't go anywhere.
All of the day's top stories, of course. Today with Candice Holdsworth and Matthew Larzer. Aidan McGee, of course, sat there in his temporary replacement for just a few minutes.
2 years on since the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We'll be joined by the former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond to discuss her legacy and the future of the royal family.
And stateside, Nelson Aspen will share the latest from the presidential race with us, Kamala and Trump.
Should start actually by saying bienvenidos a todos a Saturday Morning Live.
Oh, not again. Not another one.
It wouldn't be right if I didn't. But we do want to start the show by asking you to send us pictures of your school children.
Yes, lots of young little boys and girls, of course, have been starting school this week. So today we want your pictures if you're proud parents, proud grandparents, sending your little ones off to school. Send us your first day of school snaps and we will try our best to show them during the show. Just give us their first name and roughly where you're from, the town maybe, or just the county. gbnews.com/your say. But before we do anything else today, here's your news headlines.
Thank you, Ben and Tatiana. Now for your latest headlines from the GB Newsroom. Later today, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer will meet with his Irish counterpart Simon Harris as part of a commitment to reset relations between the UK and Ireland. The PM will travel to Dublin to meet Mr Harris, where the pair will also sit down with business leaders from across the country. It's expected that trade across the Irish Sea will be top of the agenda, with that relationship worth an estimated €100 billion every year, as well as supporting thousands of jobs. Meanwhile, the PM has paid tribute to the legacy and devotion of the late Queen Elizabeth II ahead of the 2-year anniversary of her death tomorrow. Sir Keir has said a new memorial, which will stand in St James's Park in London, will give people a place to honour the late Queen and connect with the shared history we cherish. Britain's longest reigning monarch passed away peacefully on September 8th, 2022 at Balmoral Castle. A Royal Navy serviceman who was killed when a helicopter made a deliberate emergency landing over the Channel on Wednesday has been named as Lieutenant Rodri Lation. 3 people were on board the Merlin Mk4 during a night exercise when it ditched off the Dorset coastline, killing the 31-year-old. A statement from Rodri's family described him as talented, passionate, strong and loyal. It said, "We will always have him in our hearts, our wonderful boy." A pro-UK rally is scheduled to take place in Glasgow later today, organised by EDL founder Tommy Robinson. It's been warned that anyone engaging in disorder will be arrested and could face prosecution, with Scotland's First Minister John Swinney stating there is no place for what he called right-wing thuggery in Scotland. Meanwhile, a counter-protest has been organised by Stand Up to Racism. A source for the royal family has said that the King's health is improving, stating that it's heading in a very positive trajectory. Britain's monarch was diagnosed with cancer earlier this year and has since been undergoing treatment. Queen Camilla seems to have confirmed this news of his improvements. Earlier this week, whilst opening a new cancer centre in Bath, she commented that the King was doing very well. The SNP has called on the Prime Minister to U-turn on plans to cut winter fuel payments. Research has shown that close to 1 million pensioners in Scotland received the payments between 2022 and 2023, but under new plans by the Labour government, 87% of those would lose that financial support. More heavy rain is expected across the UK today, with many still at the risk of flooding. The Met Office has said a new band of heavy and thundery rain will arrive on the south coast today and will make its way north overnight. Britain's Jack Draper has crashed out of the US Open after being sick 4 times during his semi-final. The British #1 had hoped to emulate the likes of Andy Murray and Emma Raducanu by taking the title, but was ultimately beaten by Yannick Sinner. Draper cited issues with anxiety as the reason for his exit from the competition, describing it as the worst feeling ever.
I had chances here and there and I didn't take them, and obviously when you play the best players in the world you need to do that. And yeah, I obviously wasn't feeling my best and struggled at certain periods of the match, especially towards the end. But you know, Yannick beat me fair and square. He was too strong for me today.
And later today, England will take on Ireland in the UEFA Nations League. This will be the first test for England's interim manager Lee Carsley following Gareth Southgate stepping down after defeat in the Euros final this summer. Carsley has faced criticism after he said he will not sing the national anthem tonight, although the former Ireland player says he's respectful of the concept. Elsewhere in the competition, Wales faced a goalless draw last night against Turkey, and on Thursday night, Scotland lost 3-2 to Poland, and Northern Ireland beat Luxembourg 2-0. Those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophie Reaper. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Very good morning to you. Ben and Tatiana with you on Saturday Morning Live. This weekend on GB News. And we just gave a shout-out, didn't we, for kids on their first days of school, of course. What's going on later in the show? It is fairly relevant, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We'll be joined by fashion designer Donna Ida, who will be talking about back-to-school fashion for mums.
So when we first had this segment and the producers said, oh, we've got a back-to-school fashion guest on, I thought, being very stupid, that it was for kids going back to school. So fashionable school bags, fashionable... I was thinking, how much fashion can you get in a school uniform? But it's for parents, of course.
Well, if we show pictures of my niece and your son, maybe that could...
Come on in, so who's first? So that's my boy Jude.
Oh.
So he started reception on Thursday. They start with 1 hour or 2 hours a day, and then next week, their first 4 days. And I think we've got one of your niece, Tatiana, as well.
And her little friend. This is Ava and her little friend. And she's rocking the denim as well, so, you know.
She is.
Well, they both are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Tell you what, some of the school uniforms these days
what
are more expensive than what you can get on the catwalk, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be, yeah.
And there's been a big issue with schools that make you have the logo on it. They're massively more expensive than the ones on the high street, which hits parents.
Yes, definitely.
And if you didn't know, our panel's here as well. Matthew Lars, Candice Holdsworth and Aidan McGee with us as well. So, yeah, keep the pictures coming in. I did say gbnews.com/you'll say, but I think it's a little bit difficult to send pictures over that format. So is it... Yeah. What's the old email?
I think it's gbviews@gbnews.com.
OK, send them there, or Twitter, at BenLeo444. And what's your Twitter? At Tatiana Sanchez. Yes,
I am Tatiana, yeah.
OK, great stuff. Right, big story this morning. It came out in the papers this morning and it kind of flabbergasted me last night. Interim England manager Lee Carsley has announced he will not sing the national anthem at his first game, leading the team against Ireland later today.
Well, Carsley, who previously played 40 times for Ireland, will be leading the England senior team for the first time ever. But has he gotten off to a bad start? Well, we're joined now by sports broadcaster Aidan McGee, who's here with us to talk about this. Has he got off to a bad start with this?
Actually, yeah, I think he has. I mean, look, I don't have a problem, and I think a lot of people in the game won't have a problem with him not singing the national anthem tonight. He said he didn't sing it even when he was a Republic of Ireland player. It interferes with his ritual before. Every player, you may have noticed, when they step out, some of them have superstitions, they have a way of preparing. And for him, during his career and during his coaching career, the national anthem has simply not been part of that. There were players last summer for England in the left to right pen picks that they do before the match in the live national anthem who weren't singing, and nobody batted an eyelid. Now, there's an element here of rabbit in headlights because he won't have been expecting that question. He wouldn't have been briefed on it. The FA clearly weren't anticipating anything like this. They certainly won't have been expecting it to get on the front page of any of the national papers, though. They certainly wouldn't have expected Jeff Powell in the Daily Mail, the very senior Jeff Powell, to say that, well, he echoed Ben Leo's thoughts that he should be sacked before the game. So I think I don't think it should be a problem, but, yeah, there's no doubt that it is. There'll be a line in the sand now where an England manager or an England coach or any players, they'll be thinking, well, I better sing the national anthem now, because if not, I'm going to be in trouble. Well,
it's kind of like you said, though. You said he didn't used to sing it for Ireland.
No.
So I think in his own words, he said, why would he start now?
There's another element to this as well. There was a history, various flashpoints down the years of clashes between Ireland and England. There was a famous riot in 1995 at the old Lansdowne Road. The game was actually abandoned. I've never known an England match to be abandoned before in my life, before or since. So there's an incendiary element to this as well, Tatiana, because if a player who played in the World Cup for the Republic of Ireland and won 40 caps for that nation steps into the Aviva Stadium tonight and sings the English national anthem, when in football terms he is Irish, then he risks annoying probably 55,000, 60,000 supporters. So that's the kind of thing the police would advise on. Mike Parry was on the show on Breakfast this morning. He was head of the FA's communications department back in '95. He had to apologise the following day to the Irish Prime Minister because of events that had happened that night. So it can be difficult, it can be incendiary. He even had to go down into the dressing room and get the players to come back out on the pitch, but they wouldn't do it because it was too difficult. So there's history to consider here as well.
Yeah, Candice, I just think, you're taking up one of the most important jobs in the country when it comes to sport anyway. Yeah. You are flying the flag for football fans all over, not just England, but England fans all over the world. And even if you don't want to sing the national anthem or you don't agree with it, why would you come out publicly and say that? Doesn't it show a bit of naivety or, dare I say it, a little bit bit of denseness?
Yeah, or just, self-involvement, when that's not what it's about. It's a team sport. And I think that's problem people had a little bit with previous England managers, that it felt like everything was getting too political and people just wanted to focus on the sport, and they're kind of sick of football becoming a site of everyone sort of posturing politically.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I would agree with that. But in addition to what we've already said, if England start winning matches, or if Lee Carsey can prove to be the man who takes England into the area that Gareth Southgate couldn't get us into, probably the final third of the pitch, then who knows? I mean, I think it would all disappear in a puff of smoke.
Sounds as though he can't win either way, to be honest with you, doesn't it?
Well, no.
A little bit.
No, it does. And also, he won't have been expecting the question. So sometimes, most managers now, when they've, I had situations where there were managers that were new in the job, and I did them a favour by saying, look, I'll give you the questions up front if you want. Nobody knows that. That's a revelation, but I did do it on occasion. I wasn't meant to, but just to make them feel relaxed, because I knew I'd get better answers from them, right? So there would have been none of that last night with the FA. That question came completely from left field. He was clearly unprepared.
Good way to get managers on side, eh? To get to gossip.
It was David Moyes. David Moyes I helped out at West Ham. He was uneasy going into a club that he'd never been at before. The fans weren't necessarily having him first time around. And I gave him the questions up front, and we had a good press conference, and I got much, much better and fuller answers. I only did it once, though.
Aidan, what if Lee Carsley takes the knee tonight instead?
They
lose to Ireland?
Yeah, I know.
Definitely be gone then.
Yeah, probably. Don't know.
OK, Aidan, thank you very much. What time's the match tonight?
It is 5:30. OK,
great.
No, 5 o'clock. Might be 5 o'clock.
Oh, no one cares anyway, because you'll be watching GBNews, of course, so we're not going to watch
That's another interesting question, isn't it? Does anyone really care about the international break? Anyway.
Yeah, it's one for another day.
Right, let's catch up with our panel now. We've got Candice Holdsworth and Matthew Larser in the building. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Lots of stories doing the rounds today. What should we start with? Candice, you liked this one in The Guardian probation officers get just days to prepare for early release of prisoners. So about 2,000 prisoners are expected to be let out on Tuesday amid warnings of a coming rise in crime. But the Probation Officers Union, is it NAPO? They were only informed on the 3rd of September that serious offenders would be released into their supervision.
Yes, and they're really concerned about this. And my first thought when I saw this headline was I thought of Jordan McSweeney. I mean, he was the guy who murdered Zara Alina in that absolutely brutal way. And it turned out he'd missed loads of probation meetings before that. And this is immediately what they picked up on this story, that, you know, violent offenders, they're not necessarily going to be able to keep track of them. And it's a real problem. I mean, the whole system is under huge strain at the moment. And if a little bit buckles, you can get horrific incidents like that. And you just wonder, you know, are people doing all these early releases, you know, do they know quite what constraints these probation officers have? I mean, they're already looking after a huge swathe of people, and now all these people are going to be coming out as well.
What's the solution then?
Yeah, well, I mean, the solution is more probation officers. And one of the things the new government did do is put plans in place to recruit new probation officers because obviously they recognise there's a shortage right at the beginning. But obviously it takes time to train a probation officer. And on Tuesday, those new probation officers are not going to be in place. This is a real crisis for the probation service. And as soon as anybody who's been released early commits a crime, we hope as few as possible do, obviously. But, you know, naturally, some will. Then that's going to become a huge issue and public anger is going to rise. The government would say there simply aren't enough prison places, we've got to prioritise new people coming into prison and we've sort of, you know, there's a system in place to get the least worst, as it were, out first. But that's not going to hold water with the public if a serious incident happens.
Yeah, I mean, what are you all up to, Matthew?
Well, I mean,
Labour are losing, I mean, it's argued, a lot of goodwill in their first 60-odd days.
Yeah, I mean, the winter fuel cut, which the government, which Rachel Reeves thought was going to be short, sharp, she'd get it out before the summer holiday and everybody would forget about it. Well, far from it. You know, Parliament's come back this week, rumblings are happening, and we're seeing the first briefings from ministers saying that they're upset anonymously, as well as the question of who will rebel when the vote comes to the Commons this week. And that's all fueled by public anger. There's real anger out there. So all these new MPs with majorities of 1, 2, 3,000 in places they never expected to win, they're finding it ain't easy being an MP. The fun is over for sure.
Yeah.
As they went back to big school this week.
I mean, there's a lot. You know, is it an attack on pensioners, this winter fuel cut, and now on top of that we've got the
also. So what were we going to say?
We've got the potential scrapping of the 25% for single-person occupancy in households on their bills.
Yeah, so I think that I think the government will be thinking twice about that now because they've seen the strength of the row. And I think the real concern is that because it's still going to the winter fuel allowance is still going to go to the poorest pensioners, but the poorest pensioners are people on pension credit, and that's under kind of about 13,000. So if you're just surviving on 14, 15 grand a year, which as we know is not a lot of money, you're going to miss out. And this was something you were expecting to pay your fuel bills with, the winter fuel payment. So I think that the anger is going to grow. Watch out for the government. They won't U-turn, but watch out for them doing something like trying to get a big campaign to get more people to take up pension credit, or a little sweetener for poorer people.
OK, I mean, that could be a solution. I mean, is it un-Labour? Is it unsocialist? And do you think that there's an argument that could be said that perhaps it should be taken to Parliament and should be voted on by MPs?
Yes, well, the thing is exactly what Matthew says is what I've experienced. I mean, I know people who are involved in labour movements all around the country, and they just say the anger at this from their constituents. They can't believe this. And these are people who have been Labour all their lives, and they say this is just not what we stand for as a party. We look after the vulnerable. They've said, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to give MPs a free vote on this.
Well, there's going to be a vote, but it's not clear at the moment whether they're going to whip it or not, because it's possible that anybody who rebels will end up having their whip removed and won't be a Labour MP. And if you only started in July, some of them won't be Labour MPs for very long.
But why is there this disconnect? I mean, why such a huge disconnect?
I think they thought that because obviously one of the problems is it used to, every pensioner got the winter fuel allowance, so it went to millionaires. When I was a TV producer, remember William G. Stewart used to 15 to 1? He was passionate that it shouldn't go to people like him. So he made a little film for me for the One Show about how he thought people like him shouldn't get it. And maybe people like him shouldn't get it, people at the top end of the spectrum. The problem is it's such a blunt instrument, either the very poorest or everybody. And that's what's got real anger.
It costs money. Everyone says things should be means-tested. I guess it costs money to be means-tested, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the problem is, of course, because a lot of pensioners don't pay tax, they're not doing tax returns, you can't do it through the tax system. So that's why the government thought it only had the option of the very poorest on pension credit, which is just, you know, the computer can cope with, or everybody. The problem is, as you say, there's those people who are just over the limit or in that 15 to 20, 25,000 bracket who are really worried about how they're going to pay their fuel bills.
We never hear their voices. This is such a problem. We only hear the voices, like you say, of people who are very well connected, perhaps part of the elite, but those just about managing, no one ever hears what they have to say.
Labour were very good whilst in opposition, talking about how they've spoken to constituents about, you know, they're facing a choice of heating or eating this winter. Yvette Cooper with that infamous tweet saying that she met some lady from Leeds whose hands were blue because she couldn't heat her home. So they were giving.
There's one in the manifesto said. There's a picture of a guy in the manifesto. We don't know if he will still get it or not. But yeah, and I think the big problem is, although there's a picture of a pensioner saying, I can't, I have to choose between heating and eating, I paraphrase, but effectively that, there wasn't a mention that the winter fuel allowance was going to disappear, and I think that's what's got people really angry. They voted in July, but they weren't told this is what they were voting for.
Just very quickly, have we got enough time for one more? Ian McKellen has been bad-mouthing our late Queen Elizabeth, saying that she... it's called a snide attack. I think he called her a bit mad or something akin to that, and also siding with Prince Harry and saying that Prince Charles was it damaged? I think it was damaged. Is McKellen just at the age now where he just doesn't care?
Well, maybe he's a bit, maybe he's got a bit doolally himself. Serena, as they call him, as his nickname.
I remember him in Coronation Street, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a massive Ian McKellen fan, but he's at home recovering from his injury when he fell off stage. Yeah. So let's just hope that it's the painkillers that are making him a little bit loose-tongued.
But I love it when people get to that age and they just stop caring and they say exactly what they think.
But is it a little bit distasteful ahead of the 2-year anniversary since the late
It could have been timed better, couldn't it? I mean, but Ian likes to make a fuss, and so, it's going to get people talking, isn't it?
Yeah, all sorts of opinions. It's absolutely fine.
He's got a show coming out, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, there's all, yes. And he's, to turn when he's recovered from his injury, they might go into the new Lord of the Rings, whatever it is, sequel, prequel, the next one.
I know you love it, don't you? I've never watched it.
The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
So good.
So good.
Have you watched Aidan?
No, not interested.
No. I can't.
I'd rather see him in shape.
If you can't live it, if you can't live it, I don't watch it. I don't do all this fantasy, all this.
Yeah, no.
Sci-fi.
I've never read Harry Potter.
What?
No, I haven't.
But as the oldest person on the sofas, I know it's hard to believe. It was just before my time.
I haven't seen Ghostbusters.
Oh no, Ghostbusters, classic part of my childhood.
Have you seen the movies?
Yeah. I'm old enough to remember them first time round.
Are you a Potter fan?
Yeah, I'm a Potter fan.
Me too, jeez.
Potter.
Sounded like Professor Snape.
Oh, sorry. I attempted it.
Right. Thank you very much to our panel, and we will check in with all of the panel very shortly. But next, Jean Queen fashion icon Donna Ida will be joining us on the sofa with her back-to-school fashion tips. Stay with us.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
You'll relate to this one. We've all been there, haven't we? Tensions high in the car as you head off on the latest adventure or holiday during the summer break.
Now, with the average family set to spend about 3.5 hours a week together in the car driving on the roads during the holidays, new research has shown that our relationships could be tested to the limit.
Yes, figures show that 21% are having arguments for simple things like the driver going the wrong way, which we were saying is not actually very simple. That's very serious.
I was going to say that. I'm surprised it's just 21%. Yeah. If I was going the wrong way down the road,
you'd know about
it. You'd hear from me.
A further 20% squabbling over how their partner drives, yes, and 25% admitting to being more prone to rowing when their kids are misbehaving. It's a lot to deal with, isn't it?
Fair enough.
Well, we're joined now by dating and relationship coach and author Persia Lawson. Good to see you this morning, Persia. What is it about being in a car that just makes things so tense?
Well, I think it's probably quite obvious, isn't it? It's the fact that we are in a confined space, we can't go anywhere, and it can just really create so much tension and stress, especially if you and your other half or a family member, whoever you're in the car with, are going through a little bit of a tricky time. And if it's really hot outside, that doesn't help either. So inevitably, it creates a lot of irritation and bickering, I would say, from my experience.
And what is it about children? If you add children into the mix, it just makes things very, very difficult, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of, are we there yet?
Yeah.
Kicking the back seat and just squabbles, kicking the siblings. So adding children into the mix is just going to turn the heat up on that tension.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello, welcome back. 10:24, Ben and Tatiana with you on Saturday Morning Live. Lots of you sending your pictures in of your kids and your grandkids at school. Thank you for those. We're putting them in the system right now and we will endeavour to show them in just a few minutes. But first, dropping your kids off at the school gates, of course, is a huge deal for them and can be for parents too. Our next guest, Jean Queen Donna Ida Thornton, creator of the Donna Ida collection, knows all about ensuring great first impressions for fashion-conscious and famous mums. So we're delighted that Donna joins us now. Good morning to you.
So lovely to see you both, and these outfits are stunning.
Well, we were excited to see you wearing jeans. It was a little love-in moment there, wasn't it?
I thought I should. The Jean Queen's coming in. I'll pull out all the stops today.
You look gorgeous, gorgeous. We're all about the jumpsuit.
What inspired your collection?
Well, it started really in 2006 when I couldn't find a place to shop for jeans that made me feel happy and calm, and it had a huge range but with amazing service. So that's where it started, and then we were originally multi-brand retail. Then when we'd been selling all of these amazing jeans to the gorgeous women of London for years, we started our own collection in 2012, and now it's just us and our brand. And yeah, that's what started. But really it's about the woman, the customer, making her look and feel amazing and making her feel really confident and recognising that we're all shapes and sizes.
Because I don't know how you feel about jeans, but they're not always... They're not always very comfortable.
Well, you and I are curvy. And so for me, Yeah, I love that. But I used to not like it for me. So when I started in 2006, it was very much still about the bumster jeans. Alexander McQueen had really showcased that look, and the zips were that long, or that was tiny. For us, it's all about high-waisted jeans, celebrating that silhouette, recognising we have a waist and a bum, and we really want to embrace our shapes.
So is this a thing? Fashion-conscious mums and I guess dads as well. Do they? I mean, my kid's just starting. My child is just starting school this week, and I dropped him at nursery in just some old trackies and an old T-shirt.
Right.
Oh, Ben.
But is this an actual thing where people doll themselves up and look good for the school run?
Absolutely. But, you know, when you're young and gorgeous, as you are, you can get away with the trackies and the T-shirt and, you know, being a bit sort of on the fly. But I feel like really, for me especially, as you get older, you do want to look put together, look polished, and you want to do it in the most simple way possible. And like Tom Ford said, find your uniform. And so if that's jeans or a jumpsuit...
Yeah, we can see the jumpsuits that you're both wearing. And Tasha, you're a model for the brand? Is that correct? What's your role in Donna Ida's collection?
It's varied.
OK.
So I do lots of trying on, working with the production team on fit and things like that. So there's a process from design, production, and I help Donna
all the way through to sales, the whole way. Tasha's been with us since she was 19 years old as an intern. So she's been with us, she's over 30 now, so she's been with us the whole way and really knows the customer, really knows women's bodies, and...
We're having a nice look at
she's looking gorgeous. Why don't you do a little spin for us?
Yeah,
spin?
Go on
absolutely.
then, give us a spin.
These are stunning, and I can tell how comfortable they are as well.
And for us, it's all about the denim. It has to be... The real thing with denim design is the fabric, the quality of it, and the fit, and the cut and the design. It is just really putting those things together.
It looks flexible, but you've got a story behind this as well.
With Think Ocean?
Yeah.
So we're actually starting, yes, I've become an ambassador for Think Ocean, and we are really embracing sustainability, as we always have, because with denim, you can... So, for example, with this that I'm wearing, this is called Smarter Than You, this wash, I will never wash this. So I put it on, take it off, I'll never wash it. I want it to stay crisp and clean. I don't want it to be through the machine. Other styles that we wear, for example, perhaps my Cassandra, in the lighter wash, I will wash it, and that's OK. But I would always wear something at least 4 or 5 times.
Can I ask you a silly question for the men out there?
Yes.
Who, you know, probably aren't that fashion conscious. How often should we wash our sort of everyday denim jeans?
At least, I would say, wear them at least 4 or 5 times. I wear at least 4 or 5 times. I mean, how dirty does denim get?
Yeah.
Really? And the great thing about jeans is I used to always wipe my hands down the front of my jeans, and my mum would say to me, don't wipe your hands on your clothes. But with jeans, doesn't matter. It doesn't. And often, if you've got toothpaste on it or something, it just blends in eventually.
Yeah.
So
it's normally my child's snot than toothpaste, but
but also, even if it's not, it scrapes off. It's fine. It dries. It dries, and you can scrape it off. So you don't want to be. A lot of things like T-shirts, we do have to wash all the time, and so if we're thinking about the planet, with everything that we do, every little action goes towards a sustainable planet, and that's what I'm doing with Think Ocean as well. So we're collecting the waste from the ocean. It is all then repurposed into fabrics, which we then will make into garments.
I think that's a lovely idea.
Yeah, beautiful. Lovely
It is
environment.
beautiful. And you're walking a fashion show.
Yes.
Is that next week that you're walking a fashion show? That's
Yes.
exciting.
That's
London Fashion Week?
London Fashion Week for icons. So I have to then walk down the catwalk. I know.
Oh.
So
Are you
I'm actually a little bit nervous
nervous?
about that. Doing TV, I don't get nervous about, but something like that, with everyone watching me walking down a catwalk, I'm like, oh, please no. But yeah.
Oh, that's really
And
exciting.
is that Amanda Holden there wearing your
Yes,
gear?
she's wearing the Cassandra.
Oh, is it the same piece?
Yeah,
Oh,
what Tash
lovely.
wears, and that has been. She's so much fun, Amanda, and that is one of our longest-standing designs. It's classic. It's very iconic. It makes everyone look incredible.
Anthea Turner there.
Anthea Turner there.
I wasn't sure if I'd be too short for the jumpsuit.
How
I'm
tall
only
are you?
5'2".
I'm exactly the same height as me.
You're 5'2" as well?
Exactly. I get so many people messaging me on Instagram saying, but I'm only 5'2". I'm like, well, I'm also 5'2". My friend Belinda always says to me, you're actually 5'1". And she measured me last time she saw me. I'm just 5'2", just. Yeah. So you're not too short.
Where can people find out more?
On our website, donnaida.com. And and our Instagram, and we're going to Selfridges this afternoon for an event. We're going to be there all day. So if anyone's at Selfridges, please come and see us, and I can talk to you more about it.
And just finally, for mums and dads who are just rushing out on the school run, can you give them some very basic tips? If they haven't got enough time to properly get dressed and dolled up, maybe like me, what's some good basic tips to kind of increase the gears a little bit?
One and done. Just throw on a jumpsuit.
One and done.
Keep it very simple. One and done. For you, pair of jeans and just a clean T-shirt. And just keep those jeans rolling. You don't have to wash them ever. And put on a clean T-shirt.
I felt a bit ashamed when you said wash them every 3 or 4 uses.
How often do you wash them?
Maybe like 30 or 40
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. You don't need to.
I mean, I don't
They're
walk
not
around with
dirty.
like stained jeans on, but...
But they're probably not dirty, so why would you?
Exactly.
I think jeans are something that you can just keep rolling.
Yeah, cool. Great stuff. Thank you both.
Thank you so much. And they're absolutely
Pleasure.
gorgeous. And we wish you all the best with the fashion show as well. And thank you for coming in to talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Well, still to come, we'll be hearing the latest from the US presidential race.
But next, tomorrow marks 2 years on from the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond will be with us to reflect on her amazing life and the future of the royal family. Back in a tick.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following a remarkably warm day yesterday, it is another very warm day in the northwest today. Cloudier elsewhere and further spells of showery rain in places. Although, having said that, actually it's mostly dry as we start things off this Saturday morning. A lot of cloud for England and Wales, especially in the east and the south where that cloud will be low. It'll be misty at times. Through the day, the cloud will produce a bit more rain, and that rain will be of a showery nature, but there'll be some heavy bursts. It'll feel warm wherever you are, but in Scotland, especially to the west, as well as Northern Ireland, northwest England, temperatures reaching the low to mid-20s, feeling very warm in the widespread sunny skies we're expecting there. Perhaps some sunshine coming through for North Wales, East Anglia, for example, but it's at this stage in the day where we're likely to see increasingly heavy rain starting to push north into much of southern and central England and Wales. Misty low cloud for northeast England as well as eastern Scotland, but for central and western Scotland and Northern Ireland, a beautiful day to come. Once again, just like the last couple of days, widespread blue skies, temperatures reaching the mid-20s. A degree or so down on Friday's temperatures, but still summer-like warmth, finally following a disappointing summer. But as you can see, into Saturday night, the rain becomes more extensive across much of England and Wales, and it's heavy at times. Could be some thunderstorms out there. It's going to be a muggy night with temperatures staying up at 15 to 17 Celsius. Then that rainfall, well, it's going to be pushing north across the country. It could affect the Great North Run for a time through the middle part of the day. And it's going to be heading into the central belt, but fizzling out before it gets to western Scotland and Northern Ireland. So mostly a fine day here and another warm day, not quite as warm, a bit more cloud about. Elsewhere, feeling cool under those outbreaks of showery rain.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. GB News royalty with your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us! Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions that raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return. And a few surprises along the way. Might be cold in this studio. That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9 only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. That was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good. I felt a little bit out of my depth with the fashion.
No, well, you've got some tips now, so...
Especially when she said you should wash your jeans every 3 or 4 uses, and I was thinking in my head, really?
I was just thinking the whole time that you'd have looked quite good in that jumpsuit.
Maybe at weekends.
All of that one and done.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. No, yeah, it's OK. I just in the morning when you're trying to get your kids to school or
it's
nursery...
the last thing you're thinking about.
Exactly. Well, for me anyway. Maybe it's different for different mums, but there we go.
I sometimes think a nice little loungewear set is good enough.
I just frankly can't be... I haven't got the time. I can't be bothered.
Brush your gnashes.
Yeah.
All good. Anyway, tomorrow marks 2 years since the death of Queen Elizabeth II, and our much-loved monarch's influence remains evident in the next generation of the royal family.
We're delighted to be joined now by royal correspondent Jenny Bond to reflect on Her Majesty's life. Good morning, Jenny. Thank you for joining us. I can't believe it's been 2 years. I remember that day so vividly. I was here in the studio, and the atmosphere changed. Tell us what's changed since then when it comes to
I think we've got a problem with Ben's mic. So, you know, it's been 2 years since she passed. What are your memories of that time and covering it so closely, Jenny?
Well, to my horror, I found myself on a cruise ship, which is not where you want to be after 35 years reporting on the royals, and the biggest story of all time comes along. And I was lecturing on a cruise ship. But that's by the by. It was a momentous day, of course, a very sad day. But one which, you know, looking back, the transition to King Charles was incredibly smooth. And I think that when the Queen died, the late Queen died, she felt probably quite calm about the future. You might remember there was a picture taken not that long before her death of herself and the three kings, the three future kings, her son, and then William and George, all alive and well. And it seemed that after the trials and tribulations which I'd reported on, that the monarchy had undergone in the Diana years and subsequent years, everything was looking pretty good. And then, as we all know, in these 2 years that have passed, there has been this terrible cancer diagnosis for the King and for Catherine, which shocked us all, which kept them both out of the public arena for some time and continues to keep Catherine away from the public stage. But the King is getting better. But this, I think, obviously, had the Queen been alive, would have dismayed her and upset her enormously. But things are looking pretty good now. Charles looking well. He's up in Scotland, and that's where he will be commemorating this momentous anniversary, 2 years since his mother died. And he'll spend it quietly at Balmoral, where she died. Probably go to church, probably greet some, well, certainly go to church, actually, probably greet some of the well-wishers who gather outside. So we probably will see him tomorrow. But today, anyway, they'll be at the Braemar Gathering, which is a joyous and joyful occasion they go to every year, and where there are some wonderful pictures of the late Queen and her family around her, roaring with laughter at all the goings-on at the Braemar Games.
What did the late Queen's passing mean for the nation? Because she was a steady presence for decades and decades for millions of people. And it kind of like, you know, although we didn't know the Queen personally, it felt like we really did lose a family member, didn't it, Jenny?
Yeah, well, I met her many times, and she was very charming, actually. I'm rather surprised what Ian McKellen has been reported saying. You were just discussing it, that she was rather rude to him. She had a very wry and dry sense of humour, and I think perhaps he didn't quite get it. I don't know. But to me, anyway, she was always very charming, had a dazzling smile. When I was asked to write a book about the Queen years ago, a sort of coffee table book, I thought, oh, for goodness sake, what am I going to do? And I said, well, let's get all the pictures of the Queen that I know. And that is a Queen who is so often with a wonderful smile. It really was dazzling. And who saw the funny side of things. She was a great person, a great personality. But for many of us, yes, she was a rather remote figure, I suppose. And I think with Charles, he does seem a bit more in touch, closer, accessible. From that very first day he came down to London after his mother had died, someone in the crowd said, "Can I give you a hug?" And he said, "Certainly." Now, this is something small but significantly different to the way his mother liked to behave.
Perhaps she just didn't take a liking to Sir Ian. But also, Jenny, the new government has announced a memorial in her name. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, lovely. Obviously, she has to be commemorated. It's taken a committee all these 2 years, really, to come up with a firm design and plan for a statue in St James's Park. So she'll be very close to statues of both her mother and father. She'll be facing, I think, Buckingham Palace. And they're planning sort of an area for reflection. I imagine there'll be benches or something where you can sit and look at this statue. The design hasn't quite been finished yet, but the statue itself, I think, should be unveiled in 2 years' time, which, of course, is the year she would have been 100. So I'm sure, I know the head of that committee, Lord Jamvrin, who was her private secretary for many years, lovely, lovely man, and he's been in charge of all this, and he has wonderful taste, and I think it'll be a great statue.
Jenny, let me ask you then, what do you think was the late Queen's best moments, the one that really sticks out for you during her reign, and also maybe the most challenging? I think I can probably answer the second question myself, but what's your thoughts on that?
Well, there were many, many challenging times for her. I think the Diana years obviously were very difficult, the constitutional difficulties of a broken marriage. I mean, but she'd had to deal with her own sister, Margaret's divorce. That was another very difficult constitutional issue. So there were many, many hurdles she had to overcome during her reign. But I think for most of us, she was just, I always said it was that sort of imperceptible presence. She was there. She was there in the background of the fabric of our nation. We probably didn't think about her, maybe not even once a week, maybe not once a month, but she was there for all of our lives. And then suddenly she wasn't anymore. And I think that was quite shocking to many of us, although obviously it had been expected. But she certainly was a very wonderful monarch who completely made her mark in her 70-year reign.
And Jenny, I was here 2 years ago in the newsroom when the news broke, and then I found out that I was reading the headlines the morning after. I cried and cried, and I think I looked an absolute mess the morning after. But she, for me, since I was born, she was my queen. It's difficult. It's difficult for that to change in someone's, inner being. But she really was somebody that endured such a legacy of service, and I think that's what she'll be remembered for.
I think you're absolutely right, but that's so interesting that you, a very young person in my eyes, felt it so deeply. But and when these things happen, when Diana died, when Mother died, anyone died, you went to Buckingham Palace. I went to Buckingham Palace, and people would look at me and burst into tears. I think, my gosh, this is extraordinary. As a journalist, you find yourself talking about it on air quite dispassionately, I suppose, and then you see the real. The visceral emotion of people. It is amazing how the monarchy can connect with someone as young as you.
And Jenny, I have to ask, of course, there's the Mail on Sunday front page a few weeks back about Harry potentially coming back to the UK in some capacity. Do you think the late Queen, if she were still with us, would be delighted to see this happen and, the first steps, I guess, towards some family reconciliation?
Well, it's not going to happen, first of all. I mean, I don't think there's any way he's going to come back and he's going to take on any royal duties. Certainly not William's got anything to do with it. There may be some reconciliation with his father. I think that would be great. The Queen obviously found it very difficult that Harry and Meghan had chosen to leave and that William and Harry had fallen out so badly. Thankfully, she didn't live to see the real criticism that Harry and Meghan started firing across the Atlantic. She didn't see all of that, and that's something we must be thankful for.
OK, Jenny Bond, thank you for your expertise this morning. It's been very emotional and poignant looking back on the late Queen's legacy, and long may we remember her too. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
OK, still to come, we're going to be going stateside, aren't we? We're going to be joined by our good friend Nelson Aspin for the latest from the US. Donald Trump, Kamala Harris. The big debate is on September the 10th, I think. How many days away now? 3 days. Are you excited?
Yeah, I am actually.
Yeah.
I'm very excited, yes.
And of course, Donald Trump's big court case in the US as well. Nelson will be here after the break. Back in a tick.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Club Classique, previously known as Méthode Club Classique, is South Africa's answer to the famous French fizz.
They basically have to be made in South Africa and also by the traditional method. So it's exactly the same method as champagne, but is made in a different place. So they can't call it champagne because it's not made in Champagne, but it's very similar.
And on the other hand, in Prosecco, it all happens in a sort of great vat.
Yes,
doesn't it?
Yes.
Which is why Prosecco tastes different from other sparkling wines.
Prosecco will taste much more fruity because you don't have the thing called lees aging. Insert the wine with brioche, biscuity, toasty flavours and aromas, which makes it much more complex.
Here we've got a thing called Journey's End.
Yes.
And would you like to tell us, I've said that people didn't want to splash out on champers. They might want to go the Cap Classique route.
Yes.
What would they be saving? How much might that cost in a shop?
So this one here will cost you about £17. So it is considerably, I guess, better value for money than champagne.
But I'd also comment that it's probably a good deal cheaper than English sparkling wine, which is interesting.
Yes, that is correct.
Now, this
Dessert.
second one is
Yes.
called Kleiner Salzer.
It is, yes.
And you told me this is a little more expensive than the first one.
It is.
What price were we talking about here?
About 20.
About 20.
Yes.
Not vastly more.
No.
Are we going to taste £3 worth of improvement? Oh, and by the way, it went so beautifully with the cheese, just as you advised. Are South African sparkling wines, Cap Classique, are they pretty well available in English wine shops, British wine shops?
They are, yes. You can find them in all of the supermarkets. Graham Beck, and that's on offer at the moment, actually. That's $11.99 from Waitrose, which is exceptional value.
That is insane.
Yes, it is. And you can also, so I brought with me today, so this is a Pinot Noir only, so that's a rosé sparkling.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Tatiana's giggling at something. I won't tell you what. 10:48, Ben and Tatiana with you on Saturday Morning Live. Thank you for all your pictures of your grandchildren and your children on their first days of school. We've got a couple here. Marlene, this is a picture of your great-grandson, Dennis.
Aww,
really
beautiful.
cool. Love the cap. Very cool. Almost Dennis the Menace-esque. Really love the hair as well.
Oh,
Surfer
blue
dude.
eyes. Yeah, he does look very surfer dude, doesn't he? Very nice. And Mark has sent a picture of his granddaughter Victoria looking beautiful in red. Oh, I
Very
do miss the
sweet.
school uniform.
You miss it? You miss wearing them?
Yeah. There's less to think about. You've just got one outfit to put on in the morning.
I just think generally life was a lot easier and happier when you were at school.
mean,
No parental responsibilities, no life responsibilities.
How long did it take me and you to coordinate today?
I know.
I had to sacrifice, didn't I? I had to make a sacrifice for you.
Yeah, yeah, what did you want to wear?
Well,
That was camel, wasn't it?
Camel, yeah.
And I said, I don't really look that good in sort of light camel stuff. So you succumbed, thank you.
So we've gone for,
Yeah.
like, navy, haven't we?
Anyway, should we move on to more serious matters? Because Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are locked in a tight race for keys to the White House ahead of their debates next week. Over to the US presidential race with Nelson Aspen, who is stateside. You're in New York, Nelson. Good morning. I think it's morning there. What's the latest in the presidential race? Donald Trump, of course, he hasn't been in court, but his indictment has been in court. He didn't attend, but we understand if he is found guilty, he won't be sentenced until after the election anyway. Is that right?
That's correct. The judge has delayed the sentencing in his New York criminal case, which Trump referred to yesterday, as he has in the past, as a disgrace. He feels that the legal system is being weaponized against him. And you're right, the race is tightening again. Kamala Harris enjoyed a brief burst of excitement and popularity in the polls after the convention, but that seems to have settled down. Now, my mother used to raise us, telling us, you can't get in trouble with your mouth shut. And that advice seems to be what Kamala Harris is following with her strategy of silence. She's given one interview, no press conferences, and we're just waiting anxiously for the debate to hear more about what she has to say about anything. We don't know what her policies are, and as opposed to her opponent, who seems to be always happy to talk to anybody, anytime about anything without restriction. And one of the bombshells that he dropped this week, a bombshell for a lot of folks, was that he has teamed up with Elon Musk, the world's richest man. And for Trump to have done this, saying that he would love to have Musk in his administration as an efficiency expert. So people are wondering if that would result in business conflicts or conflicts of interest. And why do we want Elon Musk involved in our political process? But Elon's response is that he just is happy to serve America. He doesn't want any pay or or recognition or title. So that remains to be seen. An interesting development.
Ben and I were talking this morning, and we were talking about Kamala and her not speaking quite so much as the others. We were saying, could this actually work out in her favour?
It absolutely might. I mean, that is a one way to go. You know, the whole theory that you can't get in trouble with your mouth closed. It seemed to work for Biden during his COVID campaign. He had the excuse of COVID not to come out and about and be among the voters. And that seems to be a strategy that Kamala Harris has embraced as well, picking and choosing very carefully what scripted moments she's willing to share.
Yeah, I was going to say Donald Trump. Donald Trump's done a podcast with Elon Musk on X. He sat down with Lex Fridman, who's another massive social media star. Theo Von, again, likewise. He's been doing anything and everything with anyone who wants a chat. And it kind of feels like he doesn't really mind who gets to know him. Whereas Kamala did the one CNN interview with Tim Waltz by her side, which critics say absolutely bombs. And Nelson, it made me laugh because Donald Trump was asked how he's going to tackle the debate in 3 days' time with Kamala. They said to him, "What's your strategy, Mr. President?" And he said, "I'm just going to let her talk."
I guarantee you she's going to have a few laughs as well, but she's a ferocious lady. She can give it pretty well. So there are going to definitely be fireworks. She is said to be holed up and preparing for the debate, whereas, Trump, he'll just walk on stage and start talking. Like his preparation is maybe putting on his tie. That's the sum total of it. So it's going to be a good show. Get your popcorn ready.
And just before you go, Nelson, so Harris has now agreed to a muted mic rule in the debate next week with Trump. Will she be able to challenge him effectively?
I think so, because she's, as I said, ferocious was the adjective that just came to mind. But that really is part of her DNA from her years as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, an attorney general. She can be very ferocious when confronted or when trying to make a point. So it's going to be a battle for the ages.
OK, Nelson Aspen, thank you very much. I can't wait to chat to you next week. Would have known the results of that debate, of course. Thank you. Very exciting.
Yes,
anyway,
indeed.
We'll be back in just a few minutes. Lots more to come, including Showbiz and pop idol Gareth Gates. But first, here's your weather. Back in a tick.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Low pressure still in charge of our weather. Best of the sunshine through Saturday will be across the northwest of the UK. Elsewhere, fairly cloudy with an increasing risk of showers, particularly through this evening and overnight, as this area of low pressure brings heavy rain and thunderstorms to parts of England and Wales. There could be some local disruption from this. But for Saturday afternoon, best of the sunshine, Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, perhaps northwest England too. Temperatures rising into the mid-20s here, so well above average for the time of year. England and Wales generally cloudier with some showers around. Could be heavy across parts of the Midlands, Wales, and then later on southern coast of England. In any brighter spells, temperatures here reaching around 22 degrees. Now through into the evening time, we've still got some low cloud affecting northern and eastern parts of Scotland. This just starts to feed a little bit further inland as we go through the evening. Best of the sunshine across the west, temperatures around 20 degrees as we head to around 5-6 p.m, well above where they should be for the time of year. Similar for Northern Ireland, northwest England too. But for England and Wales, turning increasingly unsettled. Heavy showers, thunderstorms starting to develop. A Met Office warning in force across southern parts as we go through the evening and overnight. Some torrential downpours developing, some thunderstorms, could be some disruption, some localised flooding, and this all pushing northwards as we head into the early hours. Driest conditions, Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland. Temperatures here around 14-15 Celsius, some places staying around 16 or 17. So a very unsettled day on Sunday across England and Wales. Some heavy downpours possible, some brighter spells, but this will trigger some further thunderstorms into the afternoon across the east and southeast. Best of the dry weather again across Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland, but cloudier and cooler here. Temperatures 17 to 20 Celsius. In the best of the sunshine, rising to around 23.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good luck.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. GB News royalty with your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us! Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions that raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return. And a few surprises along the way. Might be cold in this studio. That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9 only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss my big opinion. Mark meets at my take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Very good morning to you. Welcome back. I'm Ben Leo alongside Tatiana Sanchez, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Yes, it is, and welcome back. It's great to have your company this morning. We've got an action-packed second hour for you.
All of the day's top stories with today our great panel, Candice Holdsworth and Matthew Larzer.
And Gillian Ashcroft, the founder of Exceptional Care and social reform campaigner, will be here on the sofa to share with us why the first 100 days of the Labour government will be essential for social care reform.
And I've just said hello to him in the green room. He's a lovely guy and I'm delighted he's with us. We're going to be joined in the studio by pop idol legend, singer, songwriter and actor Gareth Gates. You won't want to miss it.
You a fan of Pop Idol? Well,
yes, I was just chatting to Gareth backstage. I was saying I've been a big fan since the Pop Idol days. I was a wee nipper. It was, of course, Gareth against Will Young at the time. And it's been amazing to see Gareth's career since then. You know, a great
Gareth
singer.
has taken it. Sorry, Will. I was having a chat to our executive producer today, and she said she was around 7 or 8 years old when she realised you don't always get your way in life.
No, what, because Gareth lost? Yeah. Well, he's done amazingly well since then. So talented, a great singer, a great actor, a dancer. He's got a new show that's touring, so we're going to be getting stuck into that and, of course, his great career. But before we do anything else this morning, Sophie Reaper has your news headlines.
Thank you, Ben and Tatiana. Now it's time for your latest headlines. In the last half an hour, we've heard that police searching for a British man in Mallorca, in the same area where a British woman was found dead earlier this week, have found a body. The Spanish Civil Guard have said they believe the pair had been swept away in a flash flood after a storm hit the Mediterranean island on Tuesday. Emergency services have been searching the area near the Tramuntana Mountains since Wednesday. Later today, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer will meet with his Irish counterpart, Simon Harris, as part of a commitment to reset relations between the UK and Ireland. The PM will travel to Dublin to meet Mr Harris, where the pair will also sit down with business leaders from across the country. It's expected that trade across the Irish Sea will be top of the agenda, with that relationship worth an estimated €100 billion every year. A source for the royal family has said that the King's health is improving, stating that it's heading in a very positive trajectory. Britain's monarch was diagnosed with cancer earlier this year and has since been undergoing treatment. Queen Camilla seems to have confirmed the news of his improvement earlier this week. Whilst opening a new cancer centre in Bath, she commented that the King was doing very well. A Royal Navy serviceman who was killed when a helicopter made a deliberate emergency landing over the Channel on Wednesday has been named as Lieutenant Rodri Lation. 3 people were on board the Merlin Mk4 during a night exercise when it ditched off the Dorset coastline, killing the 31-year-old. A statement from Rodri's family described him as talented, passionate, strong and loyal. It said, "We will always have him in our hearts, our wonderful boy." More heavy rain is expected across the UK today, with many still at the risk of flooding. The Met Office has said a new band of heavy and thundery rain will arrive on the south coast today and will make its way north overnight. Britain's Jack Draper has crashed out of the US Open after being sick 4 times during his semi-final. The British #1 had hoped to emulate the likes of Andy Murray and Emma Raducanu by taking the title, but was ultimately beaten by Yannick Sinner. Draper cited issues with anxiety as the reason for his exit from the competition, describing it as the worst feeling ever.
I had chances here and there and I didn't take them, and obviously when you play the best players in the world you need to do that. And yeah, I obviously wasn't feeling my best and struggled at certain periods of the match, especially towards the end. But you know, Yannick beat me fair and square. He was too strong for me today.
And later on today, England will take on Ireland in the UEFA Nations League. This will be the first test for England's interim manager Lee Carsley, following Gareth Southgate stepping down after defeat in the Euros final this summer. Carsley has faced criticism after he said he will not sing the national anthem tonight, although the former Ireland player says he's respectful of the concept. Elsewhere in the competition, Wales faced a goalless draw last night against Turkey, and on Thursday night, Scotland lost 3-2 to Poland, and Northern Ireland beat Luxembourg 2-0. Those are your latest GB News headlines. For now, I'm Sophie Reaper. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Right, welcome back to Saturday Morning Live, and lots of you have been sending in your photos of your lovely school children in their back-to-school uniforms. And we have got one from Michelle. And she sent in a lovely picture of their 4-year-old grandson, Roman, setting off for his first day at school. Look in there. Oh, look, he's being seen off by his... Are they Power Rangers? Oh, that's Spider-Man. That's Spider-Man.
I think you've got Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Thor, and not sure who the other guy is. That's really cute. Love that.
Oh. He-Man.
He-Man.
Ah.
Oh, thank you, Matthew Larser. All waving Roman off to school. Very cute, very innovative as well. And Colin has sent this picture in of Jessie with a brolly on. It's a shame, isn't it? Summer's gone. We're not even sort of halfway through September and we're having to get the brollies out.
He looks so happy. I've never seen a child going to school looking so happy.
Beautiful.
And so elegant with the brolly as well.
Yeah, good
singing in the rain.
Very sweet.
Thank you. Keep those pictures coming in. It's the old email address, which is gbviews@gbnews.com, and we've got more to show you as well, so thank you for those.
Absolutely. And now to look through the top stories of today, we're delighted to be joined once again by Candice Holdsworth and Matthew Larser. Right, welcome back. And we have some quite interesting stories to pick through now. This one from Spiked Online. The shameful Nazi apologism of the very online right. What is going on?
Yeah, so I think this is a brilliant article that sort of demolishes a trend that's sort of been developing, I think, on the right wing of politics. It used to exist more on the left, but you're finding it on the right now. And it's this sort of self-hatred, and it's this rewriting of history. And what has happened is this week, the former Fox News host, Tucker Carlson, hosted someone who claimed to be a historian on his podcast, who tried to falsely claim that Churchill was the villain of World War II. And a lot of people have sort of been nodding along to this as if it's true, and lots of historians have come in and said that just does not match with the facts. That is not how it is. You can't just make history up like this. But I think it is something that is going on. I mean, we've seen it with people on the far left, you know, sort of destroying Churchill's statue. And I think it's so wrong, and I think that we really need to challenge it. And I think it also shows that it's not just one side of politics that is vulnerable to this sort of conspiracy mindset. It's both ends of the political spectrum. And I think where we are right now as a culture, we really have to challenge this stuff.
Yeah, so this guy, he's a historian, Darryl Cooper. He went on with Tucker on his podcast, and I think perhaps Tucker's podcast is the most listened to and the most viewed podcast in the world, perhaps at least in the top 3. I can guarantee that. And he was saying, look, I'm not an expert on history, but he was saying stuff like Hitler was trying to make a peace deal in the 1940s. Churchill rejected it and wanted to plough on with war. And he's been slammed by loads of other historians, particularly on X, saying this guy is just talking absolute BS, Matthew Larser.
Absolutely. Well, maybe this will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, as it were, for Tucker's reputation. I mean, after that sort of interview with Putin, which was pretty embarrassing. But I think you're absolutely right. What happens is people get so angry at the extremes of politics that they effectively, whether they're on the left or the right, they both end up hating their own country so much that they get into the view that any enemy of ours must be right. You know, anybody who's questioning, so, you know, whether it's people on the left who sort of end up, you know, Jeremy Corbyn or somebody who was not as condemning as he should have been over the Salisbury poisoning, or somebody, you know, on the right who ends up they end up in the same place. It's like kind of that circle. I think it's very, very depressing. But hopefully, the fact that Tucker's been called out for having such an extreme and just frankly wrong person on, I think is a good thing. So hopefully, you know, having the conversation is a good thing.
It's so true. You know, give people enough rope and they'll hang themselves.
Exactly.
Let them reveal themselves, and we can challenge them. And it's so important to do that.
And we need to do that wherever it comes from, whether it comes from the left or the right. We need to challenge nonsense.
Can I ask, though, of course, this was on Elon Musk's platform X. Although people disagree with it and they say the history was wrong, should it still be allowed to be on the platform and be debated?
I would say so, yes. I think ultimately these things are defeated by an absolute, complete refutation of what they claim. I think that then they sort of lose their mystique and their glamour. Then it's not forbidden knowledge anymore. Then you can just see it for the absolute nonsense it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in favour of banning things generally. The issue of this is because Tucker Carlson's kind of got a deal with X, hasn't he? It's kind of promoted by Elon. It's not just like it's out there on X, it's kind of being pushed by X. That worries me more than, you know, it being a platform where, you know, obviously billions of people send messages on. So that worries me a bit more. But as you say, the best disinfectant is sunlight.
I think I think there was I'm just reading here again. I'm not a historian, but apparently Hitler addressed the nation and gave an appeal to reason to Britain to avert destruction of a great world empire, and made it clear that if we did reject any peace deal, it would mean an attack with all the forces at their power. But this historian, was saying that it was Churchill who was the main instigator of
I mean, because the peace deal offered was basically peace on Hitler's terms.
Exactly.
You know, we'd all be living very different lives now.
And he broke every deal he made.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why they originally went to war.
You couldn't trust him, no ways.
Absolutely.
OK, interesting debate. Yeah, interesting to hear your thoughts about whether, you know, although many people say it is wrong, same with the climate debate, I guess. Most scientists agree that we are in a climate crisis. There are a handful who say we're not. But, you know, do we still need that debate?
Yeah, I think certainly on something like that, something that's a current issue like that, we need the debate. And let's have an informed historical debate. But this guy's trying to twist the truth for an agenda, which is worrying.
Got it. Okie doke. Why don't we move on to... Oh, this is a good one, Matthew. This is yours, you picked out. In the Daily Telegraph, the National Trust are voting to make half of the menus in its cafes vegan.
So, as people getting ready, if the sun is shining, it's going to be a reasonably pleasant day in most of the country. So people might be popping up to a National Trust property. And, of course, what's the best bit of a National Trust property? It's the cream tea afterwards. Well, there may be vegan cream if the charity has its way, because it's putting a resolution to its annual general meeting that's coming up soon, that 50% of all menus, so not just a vegan option, but 50% of all the menus in its cafes have to be plant-based, have to be vegan. So not just vegetarian, but vegan. So effectively, you could argue they're coming for your cream tea. Now, it's 50% of the options. It doesn't mean, of course, that people will go for them 50% of the time. So it could be, I mean, you could argue it's pretty virtue signalling. People are up in arms. I can sense coming through from viewers at home that they may well not be pleased about this. Our own Jacob Rees-Mogg has said surely beef and cattle are a source of plant-based food as they eat grass. So I love that. Jacob's trying to claim that meat is plant-based. And Gareth Wynne-Jones, who we see on the channel as well, the farmer, has said it's hypocritical given the number of people who on National Trust land raise animals.
Of course, yeah. So this is the latest in National Trust wokery accusations, because last year, Candice, the charity faced backlash for replacing the term ethnic minority with global majority, and they've also had projects where they highlighted their properties links to slavery and things like that. And actually, a couple of days ago, a new story came out saying that membership of the National Trust had declined, with numbers dropping by 89,000 to 2.6 million in the year to, I think it was June, and people are blaming their so-called woke agenda.
It's the same. I mean, we discussed it briefly with football. It just feels like every area of life is being politicised.
Yeah.
And the National Trust people don't want that. They really don't want that. I mean, the thing is with veganism, only a very small proportion of people are vegan. So, I mean, this really does feel like an ideological imposition. On the other hand, as well, I would also say it's not necessarily even healthier. Vegan food is not healthier than just standard food. I mean, it's often full of preservatives. It's highly processed.
Yeah.
You know, it really is people who just have a political perspective, and they're using the National Trust as a conduit for it.
And it's about, I mean, I'm going on a holiday on Monday for a few days to Venice with my vegan pal, so I'm glad that they're vegan options, but he always says, oh, well, you know, there's always olive oil and bread. So I think 50%, it's give people choice, but don't try and push it on them. I mean, some of the stuff that the National Trust has done, which is labelled as woke, which is, you know, I think if a property was based on, was built with money from slavery, it's fine to explain, but I'm in favour of explaining rather than sort of banning so that you don't sort of say, we're not going to celebrate history because it didn't meet our standards of today.
I'm with you. I'm not vegan, but I do think there should be choice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But 50% is a lot.
It's a lot.
I mean, the vegetarians are going to get angry, of course, because a lot of vegetarians like, dairy products that vegans don't.
And what will that actually look like? Because my experience of vegan food is it's actually not that nourishing and it's not that nutritious.
No, as you said...
And afternoon tea is a big issue for vegans, because my friend wants me to take him for vegan afternoon tea. He's Polish, wants classic, and he's saying, oh, I've heard there's some bad ones.
This is ridiculous, all this vegan burgers and vegan afternoon tea. If you want to enjoy the proper thing, just enjoy it. Don't try and replicate your own vegan versions of it. Because as you said, Candice, a lot of these high street vegan alternatives are so highly processed.
They are.
They're all these fake steaks and burgers.
Yeah. Yes.
Literally, you'd be better off, aside from the ethical side of it, if you've got a problem with killing animals, you'll be better off eating a steak.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you know when you go to a burger place and it's like, I like, the old sort of veg burger actually was veg. I don't want fake meat. I'm very happy to have, a burger made of veg occasionally, as a choice, but one that's basically made in a factory, made in a chemical lab.
Yes,
I suppose it depends what the person's reason for being vegan is. Is it because is it a dietary thing? Is it because they're animal lovers? I suppose
it's true. It's true. There's real ethical considerations people have about the farming industry. I do know there's things like lab-grown meat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the contents of that meat look like. Is it just so processed that it's bad for your gut? And we know so much more about gut health now.
Yeah.
It's really important. Like fresh ingredients, we need to eat them. It's really, really vital. It's why they think there's also been this surge in younger people getting things like bowel cancer because of the diet. And that was just non-existent before.
Yeah.
You know, something quite close to a vegan diet or a more healthy vegan diet, the alkaline diet.
What's that?
It's like eating lots of fruits and vegetables, raw fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, fibre, so good for you. Yeah.
A lot
really
of
good.
sea moss is supposed to be very good for you.
Oh, yes.
Lion's mane.
Yes.
Milk thistle.
Dandelion.
All of this stuff.
Dandelion, yeah.
Not in
Dandelion and burdock. That always makes me think of my grandfather.
Absolutely.
He always used to give us that.
Well, the secret to eternal youth may hold in another animal. Should we do the slug? Because apparently, eternal youth, vegan diets may or may not contribute to it, but the slug will. The slugs hold the key to eternal youth. So, a boffin, Dr. Neil of Nottingham Trent University, has said the slimy mucus from the much maligned slug has benefits to us all. It speeds up cell processes such as tissue regeneration and wound healing.
Sign me up.
Who knew?
Really?
So so the Daily Star has got a Hug a Slug campaign, but the nation's favourite gardener, Alan Titchmarsh, is not signing up. Never mind eternal youth, he wants to protect his plants.
Yes, we do at home. My family, we go out every morning. Well, not me most of the time, I can't bother, but the boys and my wife, they go out on slug patrol around the garden, around the tomato plants, and my 18-month-old will go, he'll find a slug and say, slug!
He's right.
Well, in fact, apparently what you should be doing is putting the mucus. I'm not quite sure if you should use it as a face mask. Well, but its ingredients are certainly going to be looked into. I imagine we'll be seeing slug-based products soon.
See, that's the only time you can maybe find me having a bit of an ethical objection, because people talk about animals for animal testing, and when it's used for stuff like cancer research, I think, OK, there's a good justification for it. But when animals are being used for testing beauty products, I'm not sure about that.
I think slugs can be... there was a story a few years back where, I can't remember the name or where it was, but some lads went out on a stag do and a guy ended up eating a slug and he became... it's a tragic story. He became paralysed from head to toe and he may have even died some years after. There's something in slugs if you eat them and snails if they're not cooked properly, which really is sort of neurotoxic.
Apparently, it's not just ageing, and it could actually help tackle deadly brain conditions, but clearly there's a long way to go.
Yes.
But as you say, I mean, you know, please, people at home, don't go slug crazy just because it's going to give you eternal youth. Eternal youth at any price is not worth it.
Yeah, I think perhaps sticking to a good diet, exercise. You know, I was reading something quite interesting, and it was giving a list of the top sports that prolong life. Any guesses? Dunma, you don't. Not yet.
Weightlifting?
No,
Badminton.
OK, that's you. No.
But swimming?
No, but...
Come on in.
That was another good...
What is it?
Matthew was closest. It was tennis.
Tennis? Oh, my favourite sport.
Really?
My favourite sport. Yes, I love tennis.
Do you two challenge each other? Have you had a...
No, we only found out a few weeks ago when we did the show together last time that we both play. So we need to sort a game out, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
But we saw Jack Draper, of course. Nice segue. Jack Draper, who was playing in the US Open semi-final last night. I don't think we've got the pictures. We wouldn't want to show them anyway, but he threw up 3 times on court.
It's just, I mean, the pressure that the players are under is just absolutely incredible now, isn't it? I mean, especially in a game like tennis, where it's, you know, if you're in a team sport, yes, there's huge pressure on you if you're the star of the team or whatever, you're a multi-million-pound footballer. But if it's all on you in tennis, it's just unbelievable.
That's what I always loved about it, though. Like, I could always manage my own mindset if I was playing a tennis match. But team sports, I really struggled with that. Like, I couldn't coordinate myself. I like to just be in full control of myself, and that's what I like about it.
You wanted to be the star. Well, you are the star now.
You are the star.
You just need to boot me off the sofa, then you'll be by yourself.
You know, interestingly, his coach growing up said that he used to get very, very nervous, more nervous than a lot of other tennis players. And so
Drapers.
Yes, Drapers.
And we've seen with Emma Raducanu, I get my teeth in, as well. The pressure is such a big thing, isn't it, in tennis? And so, you know, I just don't know how to do it. My old man used to work for Fred Perry. We used to just go and meet Fred Perry back in the day.
No way.
Absolutely. And
really?
When he was a player, he just kind of wandered on, you know, he just played your match and came off. And look at it now, because of all the sponsorship deals and everything, the pressure is just... you're a brand, you're not just a player.
It's the same for football. They said football, it used to be people used to drink beer, they used to eat pies, they'd have chips, and now it's, I mean, you've got this whole training regimen. You have a very, very strict lifestyle. It's all changed.
That's when football was good, when the Arsenal players used to get on the boozer before a game and sink a couple of beers, Tony Adams and co. Anyway, thank you, Candy, Matthew. Good stuff. Right, still to come, we're going to be joined by the Unchained melody singer Gareth Gates, and I'm very excited for that.
Very excited. But next, Gillian Ashcroft, the founder of Exceptional Care and social reform campaigner, will be here to share with us why the first 100 days of the Labour government will be essential for social care reform.
Back in a tick.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I'm not saying I don't want to be a mum, and I'm not saying I don't want to work, but it's definitely not easy.
It's just really tough for us mums, you know. Our job's never done, our work is never finished, and I think it's this movement, the real out-of-office movement, is something that just really resonates with me, and I think we should all talk more about how much work we do. I think a woman's work is never done, but I just think we all feel guilty. We have that mum guilt, you know. If you're working and being successful, you wish you were at home with the kids, and if you're at home, you're thinking, am I doing enough work?
Yeah, and of course the cost of childcare in this country means that a lot of families just frankly make that decision to have one of the parents stay at home, usually the mum, and they're just being squeezed out of the economy, and that's not good either.
Once you've done your job as a working mum, you come home and you're doing another 8 hours on top of it.
Mothers have a tendency, definitely historically, just to crack on with it. It's just something that they are expected to do, that they do without moaning. And now it's like...
Are we
getting to a stage where...
go down that well?
Yeah.
In my experience, I have had someone say to me, well, if you can't handle it, why do you have kids? Oh. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, exactly that. We just need to talk about it, and I think it's healthy, and I think that's the main thing now, that we should be brave enough to be able to say, do you know what, sometimes it's difficult, but I'm really proud to be a working mum, and I tell my daughters that. I work really, really hard, and it's a good work ethic for them, you know, and that's what, you know, this campaign's all about.
Is there some resistance still, do you think, from some parts of society?
I do think there's resistance, and that's what this is about, is to try and get people talking about the fact that it has been awkward in the past, and some people don't understand a working mum's life, and that's why we need to try and talk about it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Right. Welcome back. Bienvenidos a todos a Saturday Morning Live.
Lots of you have been sending your... I'm not getting involved in that Spanish again. No me gusta el español. Lots of you have been sending your pics of your children going back to school and your grandchildren, your first days at school this week. Sarah has sent us this one of little Charlie. Bless you.
Charlie, I like the hair.
Very smart. Very smart.
Shiny fringe. And Barbara has sent us this picture of little Ellie. Gorgeous little ringlets.
Ellie's or Ira?
Oh, sorry. Ira?
I think it's Ira. Let us know, Barbara.
Beautiful name either
Let us know and we'll clarify the name. What a cutie. Thank you for those pictures. Keep them coming in. And I will say, loads of you have been sending the pictures in and we are trying our best to get through them all. But if we don't show them, I'm so sorry. Nothing personal. But anyway, we move on. The first 100 days of any government, of course, can be a busy time for all departments and ministers. But our next guest has written an open letter to the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, to request that a detailed strategy for social care is published as a matter of urgency.
Yes, and we're joined now by a long-time campaigner for social care reform in the UK, entrepreneur, philanthropist and founder and CEO of Exceptional Care and Think Tank Academy, Gillian Ashcroft, to talk with us about this. Gillian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me
on the sofa.
It is indeed, and I'm very, very appreciative for you to have me on the show.
No, thank you. Tell us why you do what you do and how it came about for you personally.
Because each day I work on the ground with the children in the social care sector, and I feel like the government really needs to prioritise change for us and reform the health and social care sector. And I know the budget is coming on the 30th, and I would like to have my say before that budget is written and delivered. I have got a lot of strategies that will bring positive change to the sector, and I need to be listened to.
So take us back. Why did you... So your story, why did you... How did you get into this sort of line of work and why? If I can get...
No, that's fine. I grew up in the inner city and I do feel like there's probably loads of time in my life where I could have easily have gone down the wrong route, and I do feel like we need to focus on investing in the families, because each child, you know, that goes into care, a lifetime in care for a child costs the government about 1.2 million, and I think the system's disjointed. I really do. For instance, and I'm going to give you an example, a lot of the children that come into mainstream residential residential around the ages of 14. Any children before that, you know, we do get younger, but any children before that, they usually like to put them into the fostering placement. Now, it's all about money, and the fostering placements don't always fit the needs of the child, and then we have placement breakdowns. So by the time the children come to residential, they've had multiple breakdowns, so the child has then got a lot of more trauma, attachment breakdowns. Then they do intensive support with residential care sector, and the intensive support costs a lot of money. And I mean, if I actually said how much each child costs per week, I think you'll fall off the chair. We have the children for about 2-3 years, till about 17 and a half. We do some really good work. We have therapeutic input, and then they get moved to semi-independence, and then all of a sudden it's all pulled away, and the children are too vulnerable. Majority of the children are too vulnerable to be in that situation. So then everything then goes backwards. So if you think about it overall, we've got a system that's just disjointed.
And I've got lots of friends and family who work in social care, both with adults with learning difficulties in residential and children as well. And the staff graft so hard for their clients, they call them now, and they work so hard with such little resources, and a lot of the time, you know, pay that they're not deserving of at all. They should be paid double, as far as I'm concerned, or even triple what they get now. So what did you write in your letter to Wes Streeting? What are you asking for a meeting with him?
I would love a meeting, yeah. And for me, everything I say is it's not an opinion. I've got factual evidence to back everything up. And I really want to touch on it. I haven't got long on here, but I have got strategies that are really going to work because I'm doing them now in practice. So my points, and I'm going to be very brief, one of my points is about funding. And I feel like the country is run like a bad business. Yeah. It really is. And I've had businesses and I've run them badly. I think we need to work smarter, not harder. And I think what we're doing, a bad business, when it's starting to escalate down the wrong path, bad business owners throw more money at it, and they put money into finding new ways, when we need to look at what we've already got. And this is what the government need to do. They need to look at what we've already got. They need to invest in the people, and they need to get rid of what's not working and develop what we have got. And I want to move on to that because the third sector organisations bring a lot that the government is saying they're putting taxpayers' money into, like the youth hubs, the mental health youth hubs. We've got a lot of them in the third sector, but they're not getting utilised. That's just one of the points. You know, we've got a lot of services that take away pressure from the NHS, but we're not working collaboratively. Funding's getting used in the wrong way. You know, you've got workforce. They say they're going to be bringing in 8,500 mental health workers. Are they going to shake a tray?
Do you expect a good response from this Labour government? Because, of course, Labour are meant to be the party of, you know, social justice and caring for the underdog in society. Have you got high hopes for...
To be honest, I don't support any particular political party. You know, I support the people and I want to be the voice of the people because I am them people. And I know I did see Wes Streeting, he does go into the hospitals, but it's the conversations is he having, are they the right conversations? And he's saying that there's going to be a 10-year plan to fix the NHS because of the Tories. And I do think we need to stop name blaming and blaming each other. This has been going on for decades before Tories. And for me, it's like, let's work with what we've got. You know, all the different parties need to come together in a collaborative approach. We need to stop blaming each other. We need to work with what we've got and the people of this country. Another thing in terms of the workforce, the 8,500 mental health workers, we're in national crisis for staffing. And I know that because I'm a provider. I actually wonder where they're going to find these 8,500 people. And that brings me on to international recruitment. I know I could talk all day long.
And if you could just quickly, maybe in a minute or so, maximum, about your think tank academy and the aims before we let you go.
Is it done already? I think Think Tank Academy is revolutionising the health and social care sector for training, and I work with most of the third sector now, and I give all my training away for free because I feel like we need to increase the quality, because one of the points on my letter was about quality and how we're going to increase that in the health and social care sector. We need to use the third sector organisations. That is a big point for me, and that's what I want to speak to Wes Streeting. There's one point that I want to make. Within 2 phone calls that I had with two charities, the probation service, I got £12.3 million worth of work that needed to be done for literally within 2 phone calls. We're not utilising what we've already got.
Amazing work. Where can people find out more about the Academy? What's the website address?
It's on thinktankacademy.co.uk. I'm Gillian Ashcroft, and get me on Jill Ashcroft _. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
If Wes does happen to be watching, I heard he does now and then tune into GB News. Let's get a meeting sorted with Gillian. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's get your news headlines as well with Sophie Reaper.
Thank you, Ben. Now it's time for your news headlines. Police searching for a British man in Mallorca in the same area where a British woman was found dead earlier this week have found a body. The Spanish Civil Guard has said they believe the pair had been swept away in a flash flood after a storm hit the Mediterranean island on Tuesday. Emergency services have been searching the area near the Tramuanta Mountains since Wednesday after they rescued 10 hikers and found the body of the 26-year-old British woman. Later today, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer will meet with his Irish counterpart Simon Harris as part of a commitment to reset relations between the UK and Ireland. The PM will travel to Dublin to meet Mr Harris, where the pair will also sit down with business leaders from across the country. It's expected that trade across the Irish Sea will be right at the top of the agenda, with that relationship worth an estimated €100 billion every year, as well as supporting thousands of jobs. Meanwhile, the PM has paid tribute to the legacy and devotion of the late Queen Elizabeth II ahead of the 2-year anniversary of her death tomorrow. Sir Keir has said a new memorial, which will stand in St James's Park in London, will give people a place to honour the late Queen and connect with the shared history we cherish. Britain's longest reigning monarch passed away peacefully on September 8th, 2022 at Balmoral Castle. A Royal Navy serviceman who was killed when a helicopter made a deliberate emergency landing over the Channel on Wednesday has been named as Lieutenant Rodri Lation. 3 people were on board the Merlin Mk4 during a night exercise when it ditched off the Dorset coastline, killing the 31-year-old. A statement from Rodri's family has described him as talented, passionate, strong and loyal. It said, "We will always have him in our hearts, our wonderful boy." And later today, England will take on Ireland in the UEFA Nations League. This will be the first test for England's interim manager Lee Carsley, following Gareth Southgate stepping down after defeat in the Euros final this summer. Carsley has faced criticism after he said he will not sing the national anthem tonight, although the former Ireland player says he is respectful of the concept. Elsewhere in the competition, Wales faced a goalless draw last night against Turkey, and on Thursday night, Scotland lost against Poland, and Northern Ireland beat Luxembourg 2-0. Those are your latest GB News headlines. For now, I'm Sophie Reaper. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Low pressure still in charge of our weather. Best of the sunshine through Saturday will be across the northwest of the UK. Elsewhere, fairly cloudy with an increasing risk of showers, particularly through this evening and overnight, as this area of low pressure brings heavy rain and thunderstorms to parts of England and Wales. There could be some local disruption from this. But for Saturday afternoon, best of the sunshine, Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, perhaps northwest England too. Temperatures rising into the mid-20s here, so well above average for the time of year. England and Wales generally cloudier with some showers around. Could be heavy across parts of the Midlands, Wales, and then later on southern coast of England. In any brighter spells, temperatures here reaching around 22 degrees. Now through into the evening time, we've still got some low cloud affecting northern and eastern parts of Scotland. This just starts to feed a little bit further inland as we go through the evening. Best of the sunshine across the west, temperatures around 20 degrees as we head to around 5-6 p.m, well above where they should be for the time of year. Similar for Northern Ireland, northwest England too. But for England and Wales, turning increasingly unsettled. Heavy showers, thunderstorms starting to develop. A Met Office warning in force across southern parts as we go through the evening and overnight. Some torrential downpours developing, some thunderstorms. Could be some disruption, some localised flooding, and this all pushing northwards as we head into the early hours. Driest conditions, Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland. Temperatures here around 14, 15 Celsius. Some places staying around 16 or 17. So a very unsettled day on Sunday across England and Wales. Some heavy downpours possible, some brighter spells, but this will trigger some further thunderstorms into the afternoon across the east and southeast. Best of the dry weather again across Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland, but cloudier and cooler here. Temperatures 17 to 20 Celsius. In the best of the sunshine, rising to around 23.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Ben and Tatiana with you on Saturday Morning Live, and we're also joined by Showbiz Juggernaut, as I'm going to call you now, Steph, for our weekly dose of Showbiz news. What's going on?
Sir Ian McKellen, he's definitely got a bit of a sharp tongue, and it seems to be getting sharper the older he gets. Obviously, he had that horrific fall, so the public were quite worried about him. This week, I caught him up with him at the Critic film premiere, which he's been promoting all week.
Oh, you spoke to him?
Yeah, but he'd done an interview with The Times where he hasn't been so kind about the royal family. You know, he said that the Queen, the late Queen, where tomorrow is going to be her second anniversary of her passing, she was quite rude towards the end, a bit mad when she gave him an honour, the Companion of Honour. She must have just said to him, "You've been in theatre for a very long time. Does anyone still go to the theatre?" Which he did take offence to. And now people are calling for him to give back his knighthood. He did also make some damaging comments about King Charles and saying how he sides with Prince Harry, who he feels was in a royal prison.
And said that, I think he said Charles was damaged, didn't he?
Damaged and a troubled soul. So, you know, for someone who's accepted a knighthood from the royal family, you would expect, even if you've got such opinions, you would expect to keep them private and not tell a national newspaper.
But also, the Queen was known for her good sense of humour, wasn't she?
She was.
And I might be wrong, but she, you know, she was funny, and she could be, you know... pleasantly sarcastic sometimes. I don't know, I might be wrong, but I just remember her for being, you know, good sense of humour.
She was the Queen. She was the Queen, and she gives out she was giving out so many honours, so I can imagine she has these brief interactions with people. Well, she did have these brief interactions when she was giving out such honours, so she will probably say the first thing that comes out to her mind, but I think it is a bit distasteful for Ian McKellen to come out with this at such a public scale, and especially ahead of her anniversary tomorrow.
OK, God bless the late Queen. We miss you, Mum.
We really do.
What else is in your box of tricks?
Elton John came out with a health update this week, quite shocking. He says that he's lost almost all his vision in one eye. He said that during the summer he had a very severe eye infection, and he says it's been a slow journey while they've been treating it for him to get his eyesight. Since last year, of course, he retired at Glastonbury, which was his last live performance, but, you know, there's always been a bit of hope that he will get back on stage, but unfortunately this week it sounds it's not too good for his eyesight.
So he's still suffering with that eyesight problem now?
He is. He says he still can't see out of one eye. Gosh. He says he's got limited, and, you know, Elton John loves wearing his glasses when he's on stage, but for him to come out with that, it must be pretty serious, and he said it's going to be a slow road to recovery.
How old is he now?
I think he's about 73. I don't want to age Elton John, but I think he's about 73. But obviously he retired last year because he knew that obviously all the touring was taking its toll on his health. But he still has a great voice. But, you know, seeing him last year at Glastonbury, I actually think he's
Did you
the
go?
top. Yes, I did. I go every year.
You go to all the good events.
I do try.
What's your favourite Elton tunes there?
Oh, Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah. Do you know that song?
No, I don't know.
I know Benny.
That goes way over my head.
Benny and the Jets.
I'm a Gareth Gates fan.
And Sacrifice, that's another one I like.
Candle in the Wind.
Yeah.
It seems to me
you lived your life like a candle in the wind. Tatiana's like, bless my ears.
I did like that song that he sung with Blue, Sorry Seems to Be the
That was a good song as well. And he done the one with Dua Lipa recently, like a remix of... forgot the name of it, but he teamed up with a lot of the young artists.
He is,
yeah, he is.
That Blues song is a banger.
Sorry,
if I don't say myself.
Well, I am wishing him a speedy recovery.
Yeah, indeed. Are you done? Is that all?
No, there's more. Oasis. Now, Liam Gallagher, so obviously there's been a big fuss about the ticket scams, and people are calling them the dynamic pricing. And now Liam Gallagher on X yesterday was hitting back at fans who were complaining. Obviously, I'm not going to say the words he was using, but he wasn't being...
He told everyone to be quiet.
Yeah, he did.
Last day, he told everyone to shut up.
Yeah, he wasn't being kind to fans who obviously have experienced the long waits and now looking to fork out about £1,000 just for a ticket to go see Oasis. But the government are now intervening about dynamic pricing. As Sir Keir Starmer said in an interview earlier this week, he said it's not fair because most families can't afford it and they end up not going.
Here he is. There's the tweet on screen. So a fan said, I didn't expect Oasis to rip off the fans as much as they have done. It's a genuine shame. And Gallagher replied, shut up.
That's very Liam Gallagher style.
I don't know why I read that like this. I read that like...
Shut up. But I just find, like, you don't find artists actually responding their fans like that. You know, they would usually have a bit of sympathy. And I think with Oasis fans, the reason why they love them is because they can usually connect with the ordinary folk, but clearly not anymore.
As ever, thank you so much for joining us. It's been lovely to have you. The Showbiz
Juggernaut.
Still to come. We'll be joined in the studio by the pop idol legend, Gareth Gates.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Let's have a look at this story in the Telegraph, Charlie. And this is about Anglican Church, the Church of England, dropping the word church in favour of something a bit more modern sounding. Words such as community. Why are we afraid of the word church?
Well, that's my question. I mean, you've got to assume that they think it solves some kind of problem. But I think, you know, there are a lot of people who feel very strongly about their particular religious institution, whatever they all have different names, don't they? And if you rename one, do you have to rename all of them? Can we no longer use an individual name for different religions' community buildings?
Are you religious?
I'm spiritual.
You sound like him.
No, certainly.
Don't get any started on me.
Do I believe in a God? Yes. Do I believe in any of the particular gods that are offered to us? Still undecided.
I'm like you. I said exactly that.
You two are the same. You two are exactly
What about you, Anna? Are you particularly religious?
Well, I'm not a proper religious. I won't name myself as a religious, but I really do respect religions. And we have bigger problems to think about.
Is it a sign of where we're at in this secular society?
Yes.
We're moving more and more towards that the Anglican Church feels that the only way to be relevant is to take away any reference to church going, to being religious.
I think if the substance of what you're offering is good, it doesn't matter what it's called. You know, so if people are going to find solace and peace in a place that makes them feel better, they're not going to care too much about what it's called. So I think relabelling it, rebranding it, I don't know, maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but it's going to certainly upset a lot of people, I should think.
And people whose religion is important to them and kind of central to their lives, you can imagine.
Absolutely.
There's a reason Justin Welby is nicknamed by some quarters the Archbishop of Woke. Maybe this adds fuel to the fire, who knows?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. 22 years from when he first graced our screens on Pop Idol, no other than Gareth Gates, the celebrated singer and entertainer, is set to take to the stage. Here he is at Royal Derngate on Wednesday, the 9th of October, with his newly produced show. Gareth Gates sings Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, which promises to be an unforgettable evening of iconic music. And we are delighted to be joined by the one and only Gareth Gates, aren't we?
Morning, Gareth.
Morning, you've made me feel very old there. 22 years ago, wow.
Gareth, I remember being a wee nipper. I can't remember how old I was, maybe 9 or 10, and seeing you on Pop Idol back in the day where it all started with, Will Young in the final. How's your journey and your life been since then?
I'm very fortunate that I've continued to work. 22 years later, I'm as busy as ever. I'm about to go out on tour with a brand new show that I'm producing actually myself, called Gareth Gates Sings Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. We start on the 29th of September and we tour the whole of the UK, places like Manchester, Nottingham, Birmingham, Northampton, Aberdeen, Glasgow, Cheltenham, lots and lots of venues around the UK, so it's exciting.
And we've got the poster on screen there. You're looking very dapper.
Very dapper.
What can fans expect when they come and see the show?
It's a great show. I've been a fan of Frankie Valli for many years now. My parents were big fans, so it was drummed into me as a kid. So all those big hits, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, Big Girls Don't Cry, Walk Like a Man, Sherry, the list is endless. And so to be producing a show with all those big hits in the same night is going to be great fun.
So 22 years ago, let's go back to 22 years ago. And you're the runner-up of Pop Idol.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a dream back then? Was it... Because I watched an interview of yours before I think you sang in the auditions.
Sure.
And you said you wanted to help communities and struggling people.
Mm.
Was that the aim, to sort of give back, or was there a vision of being this sort of worldwide global star?
Well, I'd always wanted to sing and perform. As a child, I couldn't speak at all because of my stammer. And so when I learned I could sing at the age of 8, it was a real release for me, because finally I could express myself. I could get out of my mouth, kind of words that I hadn't been able to do before. Then I learned to play the piano and the guitar again because I could express myself. And so music was everything. And that's why I entered Pop Idol. But I think my greatest achievement was that I heightened the awareness of stammering, and kind of instilled in people that you can have an affliction, but you shouldn't let that ever hold you back. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how, as you mentioned yourself, it is such a release for you when you perform that the stammer completely disappears, doesn't it? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, there's no sort of scientific answers to that yet, but I think I adopt a different persona when I'm singing or acting. I've done lots of West End shows where I've had to learn script and dialogue, and when I'm acting and speaking on stage, it isn't an issue. I think it's because I adopt a different persona. I wear a mask. I'm not Gareth Gates. I'm whatever role I'm playing.
So You did a celebrity SAS, Who Dares Wins.
I did.
And you won.
Yes.
That's incredible. Tell us about that journey.
It was the best and worst experience of my life.
Oh.
You know, it was great because they push you to your limits physically, mentally, emotionally. And, you know, and that was hard. But, you know, what you get from that, you find yourself in there. And it was a great experience. And to be the last person sort of standing, beating people like Matt Hancock.
Yes. Yes. Getting Gareth.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself after that then?
Just we was in there and in the jungle in Vietnam for like 10 days, you know, things like not having your phone or contact with the outside world and just laying there in your bunk on a night, you know, even that alone, where you default back to your phone kind of scrolling, having that time just to be with yourself and just be like, wow, it was, you know, you really find yourself. And I really found how resilient I am. I think the reason why I lasted until the end and was the only person that sort of passed was because of the hardship I went through as a child. I was badly bullied because of my speech. And every time it got a bit too hard, I had to tap into that and think, well, these DSs, who are the strongest, biggest men you've ever met in your life, they were like pussycats compared to the bullies that, you know, that I went through as a child.
It was another exciting chapter of your life. Let me give you a blast from the past, Gareth. Let me see, we'll show you a clip from back in the day. Have we got that clip?
I'm gonna take this moment and make it last forever. I'm gonna keep my heart away and pray we'll stay together. 'Cause you're the one good reason. You're the only girl.
How do you feel seeing that?
Well, I mean, look at the spiky hair.
Do you recognise yourself? But not just physically, but kind of, you know, emotionally as well. Do you recognise yourself?
Yeah, it's, you know, that brings back lots of lovely memories. You know, Pop Idol was the first of its kind, well before X Factor and the likes. And so, you know, nobody knew what it was that we were getting into.
Yeah.
And, you know, to kind of go in blind, as it were, was fun for me because I was that young. You know, and it's served me well now.
Is that something you'd recommend, a competition like that for upcoming singers? And how's your relationship with Simon Cowell these days? Do you still
we bump into each other every now and again at events. I think as long as they're churning out good talent, then, you know, keep them going. But and it was perfect for me, Pop Idol, because, you know, I had my journey with the whole stammering thing and the speech thing, and I think I'd have found it hard to become a pop star without that, because doing interviews is hard, and, you know, people seeing my story all in the one time was good for me.
But we commend you for that, and we think you're incredible.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
We're fast running out of time. Thank you for being with us. You can catch Gareth over the next coming months. Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, Google it. Thank you, Gareth, for being with us. And thank you, guys at home. We're back next week. Up next is Darren Grimes.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Low pressure still in charge of our weather. Best of the sunshine through Saturday will be across the northwest of the UK. Elsewhere, fairly cloudy with increasing risk of showers, particularly through this evening and overnight, as this area of low pressure brings heavy rain and thunderstorms to parts of England and Wales. There could be some local disruption from this. But for Saturday afternoon, best of the sunshine, Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, perhaps northwest England too. Temperatures rising into the mid-20s here, so well above average for the time of year. England and Wales generally cloudier with some showers around. Could be heavy across parts of the Midlands, Wales, and then later on southern coast of England. In any brighter spells, temperatures here reaching around 22 degrees. Now through into the evening time, we've still got some low cloud affecting northern and eastern parts of Scotland. This just starts to feed a little bit further inland as we go through the evening. Best of the sunshine across the west, temperatures around 20 degrees as we head to around 5-6 p.m, well above where they should be for the time of year, similar for Northern Ireland, northwest England too. But for England and Wales, turning increasingly unsettled. Heavy showers, thunderstorms starting to develop. A Met Office warning in force across southern parts as we go through the evening and overnight. Some torrential downpours developing, some thunderstorms, could be some disruption, some localised flooding, and this all pushing northwards as we head into the early hours. Driest conditions, Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland. Temperatures here around 14-15 Celsius, some places staying around 16 or 17. So a very unsettled day on Sunday across England and Wales. Some heavy downpours possible, some brighter spells, but this will trigger some further thunderstorms into the afternoon across the east and southeast. Best of the dry weather again across Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland, but cloudier and cooler here. Temperatures 17 to 20 Celsius. In the best of the sunshine, rising to around 23.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Expect